Hello, Internet, and welcome back to the Story Nook. Today, we're going to be reading this one won the poll on the Story Nook channel, not the one that's on my main channel, Chrissy Duffy. But we're going to be reading this one called Villainess Level 99, and we're going to read it up until I have to go back. And it's got this subtitle of I may be the hidden boss, but I'm not the demon lord. And it's written by Satori Tanabata and illustrated by someone named T. I like the artwork. I have no idea what this is. I just know it got an anime recently. The eldest daughter of Count Dolkness, Yumilia Dolkness, level 99. Oh, this is bad. And this is a character introduction. I can't read. People don't usually pay. Monster summoning flutes. This is a Patrick. This is our main girl. I think there may be more. There could be more monsters. An Edwin, Alicia, Oswald, and a William. I was just about to have some tea. As a treat, I'll invite you, Eleonora. Grinding a difficult dungeon for drops. Welcome. To think a human who could make it to the depths of my dungeon would appear. Please give me a good weapon. Black hole. And this is our table of contents, and we're going to start on our prologue. Prettier table of contents. Prologue. The eldest daughter of Count Dolkness, Yumilia Dolkness, level 99. We were gathered in the great hall of the Royal Academy, the school for the kingdom of Valshian's children of the aristocracy, where the entrance ceremony had just concluded. The warm, inviting atmosphere of the occasion dissipated as my level was announced, and the excitement of the teachers and upper-level students greeting the incoming students vanished as everyone stared at me, speechless. At that moment I came to the realization that I would already have to give up on my goal of being as inconspicuous as possible. As I accepted my fate, I began to think back on the events that led me to reaching level 99, as if to escape from my current reality. I was 5 years old when I regained memories of my past life and realized that I had been reincarnated as the Villainess of an Otome game. It all started when I was looking in the mirror of my room and felt strange about how young I appeared. The face reflected back at me was a doll-like face with dark black eyes. Though my eyes had been black in my past life, this was a much deeper black that seemed to consume all the surrounding light. The perfectly straight hair almost complemented the other features. If I wore a kimono, I might look like a Japanese doll. Upon thinking about my own appearance, I realized that I knew terms that I had never heard before, like kimono or Japanese doll. And from there, my memories of my past life came back one after another. I was born during the Heisei period in Japan. I was an introverted female college student, and probably I was killed by a car that crashed into the sidewalk. In a matter of seconds, 20-something years of memories flashed before my eyes, and I was left gasping for air while my heart was beating out of my chest. All I could do was crouch down, close my eyes, and take deep breaths until I calmed down. When I felt a little better, I thought about what I knew of my current life, only to realize that I didn't know much at all. The extent of my knowledge was that my name was Yumilia Dolkness. I was 5 years old, and I was an aristocrat. I had almost no memories that took place beyond the doors of my bedroom, nor any memories of meeting my parents, though the servants did the bare minimum in caring for me. They didn't offer much in conversation. As expected, they were avoiding me. So I was left not even knowing the name of the kingdom I was living in. Naturally, my first course of action was to bombard the maid with my arsenal of questions, before she was surprised that the quiet child, who she had barely spoken to before, was suddenly so talkative. But she took the time to answer everything I asked about. Through my interrogation, I found out that I was in the kingdom of Valshian, and that I lived in the Lord's mansion in the county of Dolkness, where I was the eldest daughter of the Count. My parents lived in their mansion in the royal capital, and hadn't returned to this county since before I was born. Though the maid was hesitant, I coaxed her into spilling the reason why I was sent here alone. She said it was because my parents wanted to distance themselves from me, their black-haired child. Apparently, hair was seen as an unlucky and a symbol of evil in this kingdom, which explained why the servants around the mansion were so unfriendly. A quiet little girl with black hair would seem creepy. On top of that, my parents, who despised me, were their bosses. It only made sense that they'd be cautious in dealing with me. Aside from all that, my name, Eumelia Dolkness, rang a few more bells. It was the name of a character in an Otome RPG that I played in my past life. She'd been the Villainess, or more accurately, the Hidden Boss. The title of the game was Light Magic and the Hero, commonly known as LMH. It was a world with swords and magic, and despite being a commoner, the main character could use light magic. Thus she was allowed to attend the Royal Academy, where she worked together with her love interest to grow stronger and eventually defeat the Demon Lord. It was a very classic story. At worst, it was predictable. The game alternated between the Academy portion, where you raised the affection level of love interest, and the RPG portion, where you worked together with them to defeat monsters. Eumelia was a typical villainess. She occasionally appeared during the Academy portion of the gameplay to bother the main character and get in her way. However, as the story progressed, she appeared less and less, and by the time the main characters began their journey to defeat the resurrected Demon Lord, she was already forgotten. But that wasn't the end of Eumelia's story. After the game's ending, if you went back to the Demon Lord's castle, there was a hidden boss that appeared as bonus content. Most players were probably shocked to see her as the hidden boss. That's right, the hidden boss was Eumelia Dolkness, also known as me. Of course, as a hidden boss, she was much stronger than the final boss, as most players probably experienced when going up against her with a party that just barely defeated the final boss. You get your ass kicked and end up having to flee the scene. Wearing equipment with dark magic resistance and then using light magic to weakness the damage you take from the dark magic may have worked on the Demon Lord, but Eumelia would just hit you with a physical attack and kill your whole party. If you took the opposite strategy of defending against physical attacks, you'd only be left vulnerable to her strong dark magic. The RPG portion of LMH was actually quite well balanced for an Otome game. All of the enemies had weaknesses to physical or magical attacks of various elements. Exploiting them was the key to defeating the game. But Eumelia? There was no other strategy other than to level grind and beat her with brute force. She was the embodiment of unreasonableness. Players called her the Balance Breaker. According to a member of the production team, she was only added in because they felt that the villainess didn't have enough screen time. She was built to be strong enough that grinding to the maximum level was the minimum requirement to defeat her. In contrast, players only need to be around level 70 to defeat the Demon Lord. The developers made Eumelia detest the heroine for getting closer to all the love interests so much that she awakened the ability to use dark magic. The reason wasn't that deep. They probably didn't put too much into it since the hidden boss was just bonus content added after the fact. I was someone who loved level grinding in my past life, so of course I'd beaten her once. Though I will say Eumelia must have morphed from a villainess into an entirely different beast because she was able to hold her own against my party of 4 level 99 heroes. However, it still would have been premature to say that this was indeed the universe of LMH just because my name and appearance matched that of Eumelia's. I had to gather more information to be sure. When I told the maid I wanted to learn how to read, a tutor was immediately hired. And my lessons began. Once I learned my new skill, I proceeded to spend all my time in the mansion's library. I read through everything, regardless of the genre, from picture books to discords on history and politics, and found too many similarities between the game and this world. The names of the members of the royal families, detailed names of places, legends about the kingdom, the list goes on. As a result, I had no doubt that this was the world of LMH, and that I was Eumelia Dolkness. The realization tormented me. Eumelia was the hidden boss of this world, whose purpose was to despise the main character and her companions, only to be defeated in the end. Was there any point in my existence? Was there any point in living this life? I was the hidden boss, so awful that I was the embodiment of unreasonableness. That means I have the potential to be stronger than the final boss, more athletic than the swordsman in the main character's party. have stronger magic than the mage, and use dark magic, which is limited to enemy characters. Hold on. Isn't this kind of awesome? My inner gamer was ecstatic. All I had to do was not meddle with the main story of LMH. I could keep my distance from the main character and the love interest and let them deal with the Demon Lord. If that didn't work, I'd just have to secretly take down the Demon Lord. With Humilia's stats, that should be an easy insta-kill. I have to start grinding. From then on, I would sneak out of the mansion behind the servant's back to level grind. As expected of a hidden boss, my base stats were actually already quite high, and I was able to defeat monsters even as a child. I was also able to use dark magic without any issues. It seemed that hate had nothing to do with it. Efficiency is vital to level grinding, so I bought items that increased experience by selling the magic stones that monsters dropped. When I was no longer satisfied with the monsters that appeared near the town, I moved on to the dungeons in the mountains, where I hunted monsters endlessly. I spent roughly 10 years level grinding, and then I turned 15. I received a letter from my father. It was the first message I received from my parents in all my years of life, and the gist of it was, attend the Royal Academy. While you are at the academy, become acquainted with as many high-ranking nobles as possible. Your future partner will marry into our family and be my successor, so he doesn't need to be the eldest of his family. I was immediately taken to the royal capital by carriage and promptly thrown into the academy dormitories. Really, guys? Is this okay with you? Your own child doesn't even know what you look like. Every noble child attended the Royal Academy for 3 years, starting at age 15. The academy was tied to the origins of this kingdom, as it was founded by the hero and saintess who defeated the Demon Lord. Because of its history, the academy not only focused on academic education, but combat education as well. Consequently, when the kingdom was facing an emergency, aristocrats were encouraged to fight on the front lines, though in practice this rule seems to have become outdated. The exterior of the academy was gorgeous enough to believe it was the royal palace. Though I had seen it on screen when I played the game, it was absolutely breathtaking in person. As for the dorms, I was, of course, provided my own room, as well as separate servants' quarters, making me very aware of my status as the daughter of a count. Apparently, I barely made it to the academy on time because the next day was already the entrance ceremony. I dressed in my uniform and headed to the ceremony, but I couldn't help but feel that people were staring. I've learned enough etiquette to not be laughed at, so it shouldn't be that. Could it be my face? I know I'm not a doe-eyed child anymore, but I don't think I look particularly evil. After some time, I came to the realization that everyone was staring at my head. It was my black hair that was attracting all the attention. Some were very obvious in their disgust, not even trying to hide it, which made me a bit worried about my future at the academy. The disdain for black hair in this kingdom seemed to run very deep. It may have been because some legend said the Demon Lord had black hair, and all the villains in the fairy tales of this kingdom were always dressed in black from head to toe. It was no wonder that everyone subconsciously equated the color black to evil. I was planning to hide my powers and act like an NPC, but I wasn't sure if I could after standing out that much on my first day. As long as I don't interact with the main character and the love interest, I should at least be able to avoid the hidden boss route. The entrance ceremony began and proceeded without any issues, though I wanted to take a peek at the main character and her love interest during the headmaster's welcome speech. I remembered that the new students were supposed to introduce themselves at the end of the ceremony. With no need to find them now, I sat back in my chair with a nonchalant expression. However, that didn't last very long. After the headmaster's speech, there was an announcement that level assessments would be conducted for new students. Huh? No one told me about this! I barely managed to stop myself from shooting to my feet in shock. One after another, students walked to the front and placed their hand on a crystal-like magical instrument to get their levels assessed. Most were in the single digits, with only one student over the level 10. I don't know what level I am. I have never measured my level, nor did I know what level I was when I regained the memories of my past life. A 5-year-old shouldn't be able to defeat a monster on their own, so I had to be level 1 by default, so I was probably only able to take down monsters because I was extremely athletic and had magic that was potent enough. Everyone was cheering for the level 10 student, so coming in at level 5 would most likely be my best bet to not stand out. Level 5. I hope I'm around level 5. I would be so happy if I was around level 5. But I had been level grinding for the last 10 years. On top of that, I had been using my knowledge of video game mechanics to utilize effective items. And I'd been training in dungeons. Of course, there was no mercy for me, and eventually my turn came, just like everyone else's. I walked up to the front and froze in front of the magical instrument. The elderly headmaster spoke kindly and reassured me that there wasn't anything embarrassing about being level 1 as a new student, but that wasn't the problem. I prepared myself for the coming result and made a selfish wish. Please, oh magical instrument, malfunction and give me a 1-digit level. Alas, my wish went unanswered, and we now return to the beginning. Alright, we are now at chapter 1. And, that only took 15 minutes to read, and I've got like 5 or so more minutes on my break, because I've got an hour-long lunch here. Which is nice, because I started a new job. But I also did not pack food. Someone have mercy on me. Please send me money so I can afford food, because food, I'm working in Atlanta now. I don't know where to go find food. Chapter 1, The Hidden Boss Enters the Academy. The first to speak up after the silence had taken over the Academy's Great Hall was the headmaster. I'm sure it just malfunctioned. He called over a member of staff, have a backup magical instrument prepared for the assessment. The backup was immediately brought out, and I placed my hand on it as instructed. Unfortunately, the result hadn't changed. After a pause, the headmaster spoke again. It seems that you are level 99 after all. In an effort to confirm if the magical instrument was functioning properly, teachers took turns assessing their own levels. The previously silent hall began to fill with the murmuring of uneasy students, so I allowed myself to escape the discomfort by thinking back on my level grinding experience once more. I was already at the max level? All that extra XP I worked so hard for. What a waste. Finally, the teachers concluded that the magical instrument was indeed not broken, and one teacher made their way towards me. Lady Eumelia, do you have any idea as to why your level is so high? I didn't just have ideas. I probably knew the exact reason. For a moment I considered coming up with an excuse, but the thought of having everyone suspicious of me for 3 years made telling the truth sound like a better idea. I'd rather take action now than spend my days terrified of the truth coming out. Yes, I can think of a few reasons why this assessment is correct. The instrument itself is working properly. You must have done something to meddle with it, did you not? No, I did not. Level 99 should be my correct level, I said tentatively. You may not know this, but in order to increase your level, you must defeat monsters. We'll know if you're lying, so just tell us the truth. I was telling the truth, and yet I was under suspicion for falsifying my level. It's a hard world out here for honest people. All of a sudden, the headmaster spoke up with a powerful voice, reverberated throughout the entire hall. Everyone please settle down. Whether or not she speaks the truth will become clear when the classes begin. With the teachers not any closer to an explanation that would satisfy them and the students' unease increasing, he probably felt that he had to say something. The headmaster turned to address me. Eumelia, finish your introduction and return to your seat. I could see his glare in my peripheral vision. It seemed that even the headmaster was suspicious of me. Would they believe me if I blew up the school with magic? I gave up on trying to explain my situation with words and decided to keep my introduction short. I'm Eumelia Villainess. It's a pleasure to meet you all. As I returned to my seat, I began to mentally prepare for the worst-case scenario. I'll just leave the kingdom on my own. I can probably strong-arm my way through the borderlands. The level assessment and introductions continued in the apprehensive atmosphere. If things had progressed according to the game's story, the main character should have stood out as the only commoner in the incoming class. However, her assessment and introduction took place with no particular attention drawn toward her, and the entrance ceremony came to an end. Sorry about that, Miss Heroine. It should be noted that, just like in the game, she was at level 1. After the entrance ceremony, a buffet party was held to welcome the new students. Since I didn't know anyone, and no one seemed to want to get to know me, I hung back in the corner of the venue. I should start thinking about my plans for my future here. If nothing else, I didn't want to get involved in any drama related to the revival of the Demon Lord. I would need to keep my distance from the main characters and love interests to make sure that didn't happen. I'll just wait a bit longer and then say I'm not feeling well and head back to my dorm. Just as I finished coming up with my escape plans, I locked eyes with someone making their way towards me. Speak of the devil. The clearly angry male with fire red hair making his way toward me was one of the love interests. His name was William Aries, the swordsman of the hero's party. He had a extra strong sense of justice and a short temper. In other words, he was a hothead. Without any short sort of preamble, William loudly snapped, "You with the black hair, what kind of trick did you use? Aren't you ashamed of yourself, pulling a stunt like that? Are you talking about the level assessment?" "What else would I be talking about? I don't know if you just wanted attention or something. But don't you have any kind of pride as an aristocrat?" William, who seemed to be a second away from taking a swing at me, was stopped by someone who came chasing after him. "Calm down, Will. I understand how you feel, but don't cause a scene at the party." It was Edwin Voslin, the second prince of the kingdom and the main hero of the story. Complete with his sparkly blonde hair, he was a magic swordsman, proficient in magic and competent with a blade. Realizing that I was in the presence of the prince, I hastily curtsied. "It's a pleasure to meet you, Your Highness. I am Yomelia Dolkness, the Dolkness family, so a pseudo-centralist," Edwin whispered to himself. He looked up to address me. "Lady Eumelia, Will has worked harder than anyone on his swordsmanship from a young age, and he finally reached level 10 just before entering the academy. What you did made a mockery of his efforts. Why does everyone keep assuming I cheated? Maybe they'll start believing me if I go on a magic shooting spree. I'm sorry, but my level being 99 is the truth. As the headmaster said, I'm sure you will understand once classes begin." Prince Edwin was unable to hide his irritation as he spoke. "So you're going to feign ignorance until the end, are you? Are you saying that you're stronger than me? You're lucky I don't have a gauntlet to throw down," William lashed out. "Is he trying to challenge me to a duel? William, my dear, you should really cherish your life more." As the people around us quieted to listen to our conversation, the final love interest unsurprisingly appeared. "Level 99 isn't even a realistic level to be at. Were you unable to consider such a basic fact?" "Well, I suppose not." The fellow with an insulting attitude was Oswald Grimsraid, a blue-haired mage with glasses. The three love interests were childhood friends, so close that they called each other by nicknames of Ed, Will, and Oz. The Golden, the Orthodox Prince, the red fiery swordsman, and the blue cool mage. The world was full of attractive people, but these three were on another level. However, while they were all good looking, interacting with them was quite troublesome. Well, all the love interests are here now. Just my luck. This might have been exciting for a fan of the game, but I was only into the RPG portion. "Hey, why don't you say something?" William seemed to have gotten impatient with my silence. "It seems that I'm unable to get you to believe me, so," I mumbled, eager to escape. "So you're still not fessing up? Is your head completely empty? Are you a compulsive liar or something? Geez, do they kiss their mothers with those mouths? Don't they know that they are just characters in an otome game?" In an effort to end my conversation with them, I tried to change the subject to something that would encourage them to go to the main character. "Wasn't there a commoner who uses light magic? She may be having trouble with something. I think it would be best if you checked in on her." "Yes, that would probably be much more productive than playing around with your nonsense. I'm sure the Academy will issue a decision regarding your lies soon enough, so be prepared." With that final remark, Prince Edwin turned and left with the other two. That was exhausting. I better hurry back to the dorm. Having returned to the dorm, I had my maid Rita prepare some tea for me. Despite being a noble already, I couldn't help but be charmed by how aristocratic it felt. Having tea like this was refreshing, since back at the mansion I only had tea as a part of etiquette classes. "My lady, are you sure you're all right with being back so early? I believe the party is still going on." "It's fine. It seemed like I wasn't going to be getting friendly with anyone anyways." "You won't be able to find a good partner with that kind of attitude. It'll be a problem for the master as well." Rita was a maid working at the Dolkins mansion in the royal capital, but was reassigned as my attendant yesterday when I entered the academy. The academy had a dining hall as well as specialized staff for chores such as laundry, making a maid feel unnecessary. However, there was no going against my father's orders. It had been only 2 days since we met, but she took every chance she got to remind me about finding a suitor. Likely in order from my father, she was probably also here to supervise me so I wouldn't act out of line. With classes officially starting tomorrow, I'm sure you'll meet someone great, my lady. Isn't the second prince one of your classmates? I've already made quite a bad impression on the second prince. Wait, she doesn't know about all the ruckus at the entrance ceremony. Well, she's not a very good supervisor. I was still curious about the term that Prince Edwin muttered after hearing my family name and decided to ask Rita. On an unrelated note, do you know what pseudo-centralist means? Someone must have called you that. Don't worry, it's nothing you should concern yourself with. Just as I expected, it didn't seem to be something good. I never said anyone called me that, but I suspect it's something that describes the Daltonist family, is it not? Rita seemed to give in and began to explain. You know about central aristocrats and provincial aristocrats, right, my lady? Yes, I believe the Daltonesses are provincial aristocrats since we don't hold any official positions at the royal capital or anything like that. That's correct. With regards to that pseudo-centralist, it's a derogatory name for provincial aristocrats who spend all their time in the royal capital without a central position. I see. So basically it refers to a good-for-nothing aristocrats who leave their domain to a deputy and spend their time partying without working in the royal capital. As an employee of said good-for-nothing aristocrat, Rita kept her mouth shut and scowled. As the daughter of said good-for-nothing aristocrat, I let out a heavy sigh. And with that, I have to go back in less than 5 minutes. So we're going to end this video here. But let me know what you think about level 99 Villainess. I hope you all have a wonderful day. I hope you all stay safe, stay healthy. Drink yourself some water, juice, coffee, tea, whatever you want to hydrate yourself with. And yeah, have a lovely day. Bye-bye.